Hey, this is Marty from Kicking with Computer Science, and today's YouTube video is giving you an introduction to computer programming with the Java programming language. In order to give you the intro, we're going to use the Repl.it coding environment. This is a online IDE or integrated development environment that's really useful for learning and education. Um, in an actual professional uh, software development environment, we would have installed our own IDE on our laptop, something like Eclipse or IntelliJ, something that's a little bit more powerful. But for doing this introduction to programming, the Repl.it environment is great. Um, Today we're going to start with the same place that all computer programmers start, which is the Hello World program. In this case, I've called it Hello Coder. Um, the object of this lesson is to modify the code here. This is called source code. Source code is human readable text that's interpreted or compiled into machine language, which is something that computers can understand and run. So the object of today is to get you used to modifying code and writing code, and we'll do that by modifying this code to print out our name instead of the word uh, coder. So a little bit of terminology. First of all, on the left-hand window, this is considered source code. Again, this is human readable text that allows you to um, write code. You can define classes, functions, if statements, conditionals, create loops. We'll go over all that as we get into more lessons. So for now, this is source code. This particular Java source code has a class, and this one happens to be called main. And the interesting thing is the name of the class also matches up with the name of the file, which is main.java. Swinging over here to the right, this is called a command line interface or console, I'll call it. This is where you actually compile and run the program. Just a couple uh, of tricks to help you get started. Number one, if you type in the word or the command ls, that gives you a list of the programs that are available. Um, if you want to compile the program, you can run a command called javac, which is java compile. And I'll do that right now. You can do javac main.java, and you can see that we got a compile error. And so this is something that happens a lot when you're writing Java programs. You try to compile it, and again, compiling means you're taking the source code that a human can read and trying to uh, run it or build it or compile it into this intermediate language called bytecode. Um, and the compiler, if it runs into any problems understanding your code, it will generate an error like this. So we'll get more into this error in a minute. I can see I made a typo over here in my source code with this system uh, class. So JDK, um, when you run the Java commands, it has to run, it gets compiled by a JDK. In this case, we're running OpenJDK, which is a freely available version of Java. There's two things or two terms. One is JDK, Java Development Kit, and the other is the runtime. When you compile the program, it's using the JDK. When you run it, you're using the runtime. Another handy term is which. If you do which Java, it'll tell you where the Java program is running. And let me see if I can highlight it and Okay, that didn't work. But if you do a Java minus version, it'll tell you what version of Java you're running, which is kind of handy to know. So in this case, we're running OpenJDK version 11. So going back over to our program, just a few more things to get you kind of familiar with a Java program. First, all executing Java programs must have a method with this signature, public static void main, and then arguments. You don't have to worry about all these pieces just yet. You just need to know that if you're writing a program, the entry point for the program is this public static void main. The little curly braces, there's a start and an end one to the main method, and there's a curly brace start and end for the class as well. Just to give you another example of a compiler, if I was to remove that curly brace that was there, and then I come over to the right and try to run it again, I would expect the compiler to complain because you can see it's complaining that we've removed the curly brace. So let's just put that bad boy back. Okay, so earlier, well, let's go ahead and run it again. Okay, so now we're back to where we started. Sometimes these errors are a little cryptic, but in this case it says package system does not exist. And I think the issue is system is a class. Classes in Java are, for the most part, objects that are in the real world. Like a class could be a car, a house, a person, a thing. In this case, there's a class called system, which represents the runtime environment. All classes have to start with a capital letter. And so I think when I wrote this, I forgot to put capital S and put small s. So now let's see what happens. We'll go ahead and compile it again. And hopefully this time it'll work. All right, so we didn't get any errors, so that's a good sign. Now if we do ls like I showed you before, by the way, if you do ls space dash LTR, it gives you more of a long listing. Now you can see the main.java, that's our source code. Main.class, that's what just got compiled. So main.class is what's considered bytecode. Let's see if we can take a look at it. By the way, if you type in cat, that's just a simple command that allows you to view the code. So if I do cat main.java, it's just going to print out what's over here on the left and the source code. So that's not all that helpful. So now if we do cat main.class, you can see some text, but it certainly doesn't look human readable, and that's because this is bytecode that's going to be interpreted by the Java runtime program when the program actually executes. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and run it. So we can do Java main, and you can see it prints out hello coder. I personally think that's pretty cool, but obviously it's not a super sophisticated program, but you got to start somewhere. So now back to the assignment. The goal was to modify to print your name instead of coder. So what I can do is highlight coder and type in Marty, and then we can compile it again, running Java C, Java compiler. All right, and now if we run it, hello Marty, bing bang boom. All right, so that's just a quick introduction to the Repl.it environment and just a real simple hello world or hello coder program to get you started. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.